The world before me was a sight to behold, a spectacle of monochrome majesty. I stood upon the shores of an island not of sand or stone, but of solidified thought, a lone punctuation mark in an endless sentence. Before me stretched an ocean, not of water, but of pure black ink. It was a sea of infinite potential, a liquid night that mirrored a sky I didn't recognize. The constellations above were alien, shimmering clusters of light that hinted at stories and galaxies far beyond my own comprehension. They weren't the familiar patterns of my home. They were new arrangements, new possibilities glinting in the dark. I cast my line, not a hook and sinker, but a tether of pure curiosity into the viscous, star-dusted depths. The ink rippled as my line pierced its surface, sending concentric circles of darkness spreading outwards. I waited, patient, feeling the gentle tug of concepts yet to be born. My first catch was a surprise. It wasn't a fish, but a concept, shimmering and abstract. It was idea. It felt like a spark in my hand, a small, bright thing full of unformed energy. I carefully placed it on the shore, where it pulsed with a soft internal light, the first citizen of my growing collection. My line went out again, and this time it pulled back with a weight that was almost reverent. I reeled it in, hand over hand, until a figure emerged from the inky black. It was idle. It wasn't a statue, but the pure essence of admiration, radiating a charisma that was both captivating and slightly dangerous. It stood beside Idea, casting a long, sharp shadow that seemed to drink the starlight. The two of them together, creation and the object of its fascination, began a silent, complex dance on the shore. The next pull was heavy, solid, and unyielding. It fought me, a stubborn, dense weight that grated against my line. With a final heave, I pulled iron from the ink. It was cold and hard, the embodiment of strength and industry. It wasn't just the metal. It was the concept of unbreakability, of structure and resolve. I laid it down, and the ground beneath it seemed to harden, to become more real, more defined. The island of was gaining substance. No longer just a thought, but a place with rules and physics. Inspired, I cast once more. This time the catch was smooth, elegant, and bore a history within its very form. Ivory emerged, gleaming under the alien stars. It was precious and pale, holding the weight of forgotten kingdoms and the touch of countless hands. It wasn't just a material, but the essence of treasured history, of beauty carved from something that once lived. It settled next to iron, a stark contrast of organic artistry against rigid strength, creating a tension that was strangely beautiful. A sudden chill ran down my line, and I knew what was coming next. The ink seemed to crystallize around my catch as I drew it from the sea. Ice. It was translucent and sharp, a perfect temporary solid. It held the concepts of stillness, of preservation, of a cold, clear beauty that could shatter in an instant. It reflected the strange constellations in 1,000 fractured points of light, making the shore glitter with a cold fire. The air around it grew crisp, and for a moment I could see my own breath. My line hummed with a different energy now, something deceptive and fluid. I pulled, and what came out was not a solid object at all. It was illusion. It shimmered and changed, taking the form of my deepest desires and then my greatest fears. It was a mirage, a trick of the light and mind, a beautiful lie that whispered promises it couldn't keep. It had no fixed place. Instead, it danced and swirled around the other concepts, tinting idea with doubt and making idle seem both more and less than it was. Illusion was dangerous, but it was also the heart of all stories, and I couldn't bring myself to cast it back. I felt a sense of recursion, of a loop closing as I made my next cast. The line came back coated in the very substance of the ocean itself. I had fished out ink. It was a droplet of the whole, a concentrated sphere of the endless sea. It was the potential for every story, every letter, every drawing. It was the medium and the message, the source of this entire reality. I held it in my palm, and in its dark, glossy surface, I saw my own reflection, a tiny figure on an island in a sea of its own making. It was a humbling, dizzying moment. Only one cast remained. I felt it in my bones. There was a final, ultimate concept waiting for me in the deep. I cast my line of curiosity one last time, further than ever before. The pull was immense, not a weight, but a force. It felt like I had hooked the entire universe. The line strained, glowing white-hot. With all my strength, I reeled. What emerged was not an object, not a feeling, but a state of being. It was infinity. It didn't shimmer. It simply was. It contained everything and nothing. It was the sea and the stars and the island and me all at once. It was the ultimate paradox, a boundary without end. The moment infinity settled on the shore, the world fractured. The delicate balance I had created was shattered by its sheer, overwhelming presence. The sea of ink, once a calm, reflective surface, began to churn. The constellations swirled in the sky like water down a drain. A vortex opened in the heart of the ocean, a spiral of blackness that pulled with the force of a collapsing star. Idea, idol, iron, ivory, ice, illusion, and ink were all swept from the shore, pulled into the spinning maw. The island of I crumbled beneath my feet, and I, too, was dragged into the spiraling chaos. The universe of I folded in on itself, and I was flung through the darkness, tumbling through a tunnel of letters and concepts, hurtling towards the next point in the alphabet, towards the unknown world of J. Thank you so much for joining me on this strange and wonderful journey. If you enjoyed this voyage into the abstract, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. There are many more letters of the alphabet to explore, and I'd love for you to be there for the adventure. Until next time, keep exploring the worlds within your own imagination.